Right, my friends, I just pressed the Let's Go Live button, so let's wait for the stream to fire up all across the fruited plain of the internet before we go ahead and get started. We got to make sure the tubes are working before we get going on this lovely Monday, and I think they are alive and well, which is tremendous. That means we can go ahead and get started, so let's do it, shall we? Hello, my friends, and welcome back to yet another episode of Watching the Watchers Live, the show that spotlights misconduct involving police, prosecutors, and politicians. My name is Robert Gouveia. I am a criminal defense attorney, and today we are talking about Jack Smith and about some evidence in the Trump trial. Of course, he's got a bunch of them going on. We've covered 4 different indictments. Today, we're going to talk about Jack Smith. We've got 2 different cases that we're following. One, of course, in Florida over the classified documents. The other is the January 6th case taking place out of Washington, D.C. And we've got a couple new filings. One I want to pay close attention to, which is in the Florida case. In Florida, Trump and his team, this is the classified documents case, they're saying that they don't have enough of the evidence yet. Basically, Jack Smith was supposed to disclose discovery. The government has the case files. They're supposed to grab it all and hand it over to the defense before the defense can even begin preparing, their defense. And then the defense would have to review what they've got and ask for more time and all the things. But Trump's defense is saying that they have not even been granted really a large portion of that discovery. And so they're asking for a revised scheduling order. In other words, saying Jack Smith, it's not giving us what we need, so Judge, we're going to need some more time. So we'll go through that filing. We've also got this story that Jack Smith is bringing on this other guy called Alex Whitting, who used to work with him at the prosecutor's office when he was over at The Hague at the International Criminal Court, Jack Smith. And this was a new person who joins the team, but this guy has basically been scouting the competition. So he's been going to other different trials, in particular Peter Navarro's trial, and he was scoping out jury selection. And so he's kind of like you would do in a football game, right? Monitor the other team, see how things are going. And Peter Navarro commented a little bit about this, about what the jury makeup felt like when he was being prosecuted and convicted in Washington, D.C. And he gets asked the question, do you think, Peter, that Trump can win? Do you think that in this jurisdiction with this type of jury makeup, that there is even a possibility of victory there? So we'll see what he says about it. And then we'll get our latest update on the court docket, because they are going to be scheduling themselves for a Garcia hearing, talking about some conflicts of interest. And so we'll see what that says when we get there, all in the first segment, getting our bearings straight on some Jack Smith stuff. Then we're going to turn our attention to this guy. You remember this guy, Andrew Weissmann. He's often a regular here on the show because he sort of is a regular on MSNBC. He hangs out with Jen Psaki all the time, and they talk about Trump. Trump's the worst. Oh, gosh, he's going to be prosecuted, blah, blah. Well, guess what? Andrew Weissmann is being sued. Oh, man, that sucks. And he's being sued by this woman's ex-lawyer. You remember her, Cassidy Hutchinson, Clavicle Girl, who said that Donald Trump was attacking Secret Service agents by lunging at them and grasping for their clavicles to say, take me back to the Capitol. We've got a country to insurrect, or whatever, the fake story was. So she's kind of, some might call her a liar, something like that. But she testified in front of Congress, in front of Liz Cheney, and I went and I dug up the clip so we can hear her talk about the clavicles. But this is where the whole debate is stemming from, because she testified in Congress. And then Andrew Weissmann said that her lawyers coached her to do certain things, coached her to lie. And so what happened was the lawyer for Cassidy, who says, wait a minute, I didn't coach her to lie at all. I didn't do anything of the sort. He is now suing Andrew Weissmann over this statement about Cassidy Hutchinson. And wait until I share with you who got assigned the case, okay? Judge Chutkan. Okay, we'll just get there in a minute. Just Judge Chutkan, okay? So, but the point is, Andrew Weissmann is being sued. And we'll go through some of that. It's not good. Then we've got this guy, Stinky Eric Swalwell, who you may remember had an incident, a little bit of an ordeal. Some might call it an affair, where he made bang bang with Fang Fang, a CCP spy from China. And he is now saying that if you even criticize Joe Biden or the Democrats, if you even think about impeaching him, you are just continuing the insurrection. That's right. You are wrecking America, the worst attack on American democracy since the Civil War. If you impeach Joe, you're a part of that. So I guess James Comer probably going to be indicted 4 times as well. We'll see. So Eric Swalwell did actually say that, right? I'm not making that up. He said it. We'll listen to him say that. We have an impeachment inquiry coming up this week, which is going to be fun. And actually, there was a new post. We actually know who the 3 witnesses are. So we'll see what the Oversight Committee says about that. There is the hearing taking place on the 28th. So mark your calendars if you're interested in that. The basis for an impeachment inquiry of President Joe Biden is going to be coming up soon this week. Then we've got a couple clips. We'll see what Representative Clyburn has to say, which is largely that Biden loves his son and therefore everybody's innocent. And then Byron Donalds will close out the day for us, detailing his vision for 2 tracks of an impeachment. And so, as you can see, my friends, we've got some good stuff to get into today, and we're grateful that you are here and with us. I hope you had a beautiful Friday and Saturday and Sunday. We had a great weekend here as well. Feeling good, feeling recharged. We came back this morning and had a great members-only stream. We talked about three different topics this morning. It was a full members-only stream. Menendez gave his press conference. We went through that whole thing, about 20 minutes of it. Biden and his polls are crashing. It was really bad, like 52 to 41, I believe, or 51 to 42, something. Bad for Joe. Played a bunch of clips. And then we talked about that Nazi in Canada who got a little bit confused. He was looking at Justin Trudeau, and he had flashbacks to like 1939. He thought he was looking at Adolf, and it wasn't. It was Trudeau, which is very, very similar. And so you can get confused about that. You can understand how somebody in his 90s might get confused. And so we had a fun conversation about that and how he almost went full Z Heil there on the floor of Parliament. Almost, not quite, but almost did. Interesting thing happening up there in Canada. Just dictators and Nazis all over the place. Anyways, a lot of fun for our members. We had a great conversation. We love our members. If you want to become a member, the best place to do that is by heading over to watchingthewatchers.locals.com, which is where we do those member-only morning streams. We also do after parties at watchingthewatchers.locals.com. We have a members-only Telegram group. We do daily docket updates. It's a lot of fun. So come and join us, watchingthewatchers.locals.com. You can also become a member on YouTube, get a lot of the same stuff. We just ask you join us for our members-only after party by grabbing the Telegram link, which is in the community tab section on YouTube. We've also got our brand new website, baby. It's less new by the day, but it still feels new to me. robertgovea.com, where you can check out and sign up for our daily newsletter. You can see all the various video reports that are there. Every time we post a segment, we translate it into text so you can read it and fast forward through some of the content if you'd like. robertgovea.com. Thanks for signing up and supporting us over there. We also, before we get into it, you know, it's the weekend and sometimes we let ourselves go. Like, for example, I ate a lot of pizza, but, you know, that's kind of par for the course. But we still would like to lose some of those leftover pounds that are floating around on us. And we're all sick, I know, of the ads for the weight loss pills and the fad diets, I know. But it's true. We've all been there. We've all tried that. You know, a lot of that stuff just doesn't work. But you know what does? Eating 5 healthy servings of fruits and vegetables a day. You do that, the weight would probably just fall right off. But look, fruit and vegetables, I know, not a fan. Not everybody's got time to prepare that every day. You're busy. You're hustling around, getting your work done. When you miss your fruits and your vegetables, boom, Field of Greens is the solution. Now, Field of Greens is a science-backed formula, specific fruits and vegetables that you're not going to find in any other product. Proper nutrition reboots your metabolism so you burn calories faster and lose weight a healthier way. And Field of Greens is the only brand backed by a better health promise. Yes, you're going to look and you're going to feel healthier fast. But the greater proof is going to come at your next checkup when your doctor says, "Oh my goodness, you are looking so thin and fabulous." Whatever you're doing, keep it up. So let's get you started. You know where to go. Fieldofgreens.com is the web address. Promo code is Robert. You can save 15% off when you check out there. Lots of other good stuff. If you're not into organic superfood and your fruits and vegetables, although you should be, check them out. Fieldofgreens.com. And don't forget to use code Robert to save 15% off when you check out. All right. And now let's get into the meat and potatoes on the day. Jack Smith has a lot of evidence. It's called discovery. And of course, before Donald Trump can prepare his defense, he's got to take a look at it. If the government has the entire case file, how can you articulate your thesis for defending yourself without access to it? And now Trump, who said that he should have gotten that a long time ago, is telling the judge that's not the case. And he's saying that we need to revise our trial date and the entire schedule here because Jack Smith is not giving us what we need. We're also going to see Jack Smith brought in a new prosecutor who's literally scouting out other defendants, going into their courtrooms, monitoring the juries, monitoring the judge, taking notes, taking all of that back to Jack Smith so that they can better strategize for their case. And one of the people that they're watching and following is Peter Navarro. So we'll hear from him and get his take on whether or not he thinks Trump can even win in Washington, D.C. But first, let's go down to Florida because this is the classified documents case. And this isn't a different jurisdiction. This is not in Washington, D.C., where we have a bunch of Democrats all in high concentration. Gross. But this is in Florida, actually, where there's some normal people. And down there is Judge Cannon. And Judge Cannon is not Judge Chutkan, who says that Trump's defense team has to read 8 to 10 Washington monuments in a few months. And so Trump might actually have a shot at making this argument to postpone the trial because he doesn't have the evidence. This is what his defense says. Submitting this in West Palm Beach Division, Southern District of Florida. The filing is a nice and hefty 15 pages. We'll hit the highlights. It says, in front of Cannon and Reinhart, the case is United States of America, the DOJ versus these three co-defendants. Of course, we've got Trump, Walt Nauta, and Carlos de Oliveira. The filing says, Trump is here asking for a revised schedule and motions to compel and SEPA litigation. And for motions to compel and SEPA Section 4 litigation. A lot going on. Saying Jack Smith's not giving us what we need. So we need more time. And Judge, we need an order to tell you, to tell them to do something for us. Here's what Trump's team says. Trump here respectfully submits this motion, Your Honor, and the accompanying supplement filed under seal, we can't read, pursuant to the court's instructions earlier this month, seeking an adjusted schedule for Trump's discovery requests. We also have a motion to compel, Jack Smith needs to do something, and motions pursuant to SEPA rules, the Classified Information Procedures Act. And we know that this is really a case about overdue library books. I would venture and still stand by, mostly overclassified documents. They keep telling us that this was like invasion attack plans for Iran and all this stuff. And Trump had this stuff saying that he, first of all, had declassified it. He had absolute right to have it, pursuant, in my opinion, constitutionally under the opinion clause, but that this was evidence or memorabilia. These were documents that he had lawful entitlement to. But they're saying, no, these are classified information materials. And so they have to go through all of the classified rules because that's their default status. They say this motion arises from unjust efforts by Jack Smith's office to foist rushed SEPA litigation on the court. We're going to have to battle over all of those documents and who has the right to them and what status are they and did we declassify them and how, all the things, right? And actually the did we declassify them question, I'm going to guess is a coming later. But this will just be the mechanics of the classified documents. Early in these proceedings, the office, Jack Smith, boldly asserted the following. They said, quote, that they, quote, had all the discovery, that they were able to produce it, and that they were, quote, ready to go to trial. And they're citing this date back July 18th. Twice, the office committed Jack Smith to promptly producing all witness statements, quote, even if the statements would not be deemed discoverable under the law. Jack Smith's talking a big game. We're ready to go, Judge. We want trial right now. Remember, their whole game plan here is to get one conviction before the election. That's all they want. If they can get a felony, it is a felony conviction. It's a multi-pronged victory. One, they're going to spread that all over the place. Historic, first president ever. How could you ever possibly elect a convicted felon? And blah, blah, blah. And look, for most Americans, especially you and I here, that is inconsequential. It's almost like a badge of honor. Are you kidding me? You're kidding. You want to nominate somebody who was not a convicted felon by this DOJ? Do you really want an American candidate? I mean, are they even trying? Like, you have to be almost indicted now in order to really, pass muster and pass the test. It's almost like running the gauntlet. But my point is, this is a long attack. If they can just get him indicted, if they can get the felony conviction after these indictments, They will label him a felon, and they will also use this as a pretext for the 14th Amendment. They'll say, oh, the felony conviction is due process in a court of law. He's been convicted by a group of his peers, and that is enough to say, especially on the January 6th case, that there was an insurrection in America, and he is now disqualified under the 14th Amendment. So here, before we move on, I wanted to hit this footnote. Defendants Walt Nada and Oliveira join in on this motion. They're saying the same thing. We're not getting any evidence here. Although the parties have conferred in good faith, we've communicated with the prosecutor. Jack Smith and their office oppose this motion. They don't want an additional length of time. They don't want an adjustment of the trial. They want convictions now. They request an opportunity to respond within 1 week of this filing. Trump also requests then 3 days after to submit his reply. And while this motion addresses the specific aspects of the schedule here, Trump reserves the right to seek other adjustments later on. Got it. Trump's defense continues. They say, Judge Cannon, the current schedule for discovery litigation and SEPA would only have been feasible if Jack Smith made good on his promises. We could have only met the deadlines if he complied with what he said he was going to do. But here we are, 2 months later, and Jack Smith has not done so. And there appear to be significant unresolved disputes about the appropriate scope of the discovery that are going to require substantive briefing and judicial intervention. All right. In other words, Jack Smith has a bunch of stuff that we want. We've said we want it. He says you're not entitled to it. We think he's legally wrong. He thinks we're legally wrong. We're going to have to file a bunch of memos on this. We are not going to resolve this. Judge, you're going to have to step in. And so if we can't see the evidence, then we can't prepare our defense, and you're going to have to decide this for us. Therefore, the hurried and unprecedented approach by the office is no longer viable. So they're doing the same thing, all right? In D.C., in the January 6th case, they've got multiple Washington monuments tall of computer paper. That's how much discovery there is. Here, they're trying to also say these are classified, okay, not bury them with wheelbarrows full, in this case, buildings, national monuments full of documents, but they're just trying to say you don't have access to the documents because of my classifications. Nevertheless, the special counsel's office has not backed away from its assertion that on October 10th, pursuant to the current schedule, it will seek permission to withhold materials from Trump that are subject to the discovery obligations in this case. They're saying, look, okay, we know we haven't given you what we said we were going to give you, but when October comes around, we're going to also try to withhold other stuff from you. The office has indicated that it intends to rely on SEPA in connection with that upcoming motion, saying that we're also not going to give you this because it's classified. And when it's due for us to give you the documents in October, we're not going to give it to you, like when we get there. So here, that they're going to ask the court based on an ex parte submission, meaning the prosecutors are going to go outside of the defense and they're going to go directly to the judge. And they're going to say, Your Honor, you decide whether this is helpful to the defense. Okay, so they don't even want the defense to see it. They don't want the defense to see it and make the claim that it is helpful to them. They're just going to say, Judge, you decide on your own. And so Trump's defense is saying this is ridiculous. We can't even see the evidence. You are just going to take this to the judge. And mind you, this is Judge Cannon, not Judge Chutkan. But still, the defense is saying, hey, shouldn't we have some process here? Can't we see the evidence? So the defense says here, ex parte proceedings are generally disfavored. And this type of motion presents the additional challenge of requiring the court, Cannon, to assess potential defenses to the pending charges without the benefit of a truly adversarial process or any prior substantive motion practice. In other words, Trump is being left out of the process. Okay, the judge is not adversarial to the prosecution, right? The judge is just a judge. She's supposed to be a neutral person. The adversarial party, which is how our system is supposed to work, where we actually have two people on opposite ends of the spectrum, they say Trump doesn't have that ability, can't even make arguments for himself, and hasn't seen it or been able to make any arguments, any substantive motions at all. And so they say to mitigate the risks associated with applying that standard based on this ex parte, we've been cut out motion, to stop that from being such a big problem, courts routinely permit defendants, in this case like Trump, to make parallel ex parte submissions. So if they're going to submit something to you, Your Honor, you better allow us to submit something else to you also. And we're going to describe our defense theories as well. So the current schedule, if we stick to the one that you've already issued here, would deprive Trump of a fair opportunity to prepare those submissions because he has not had enough time to review the discovery. Same tactics that we see with Chutkan. The promised productions are not yet complete. Jack Smith has not delivered them. And there are additional materials to which he is entitled, meaning Trump. And as a refresher, every time we have discovery, right, the defense doesn't just sit there, and I'm speaking from experience on this, receive the government's discovery file and just say, wow, great job. You know, this was everything we were looking for. Outstanding job, guys. Everything we needed. No, do I have any questions? No, thank you for asking. No, but we're done, I guess. Thanks. Never. You always say, we want this and this and this, and you're missing this. Okay, now we got to schedule an interview with this person who's in here. Never heard of that guy. Who's this person? Right? And it's this big roundabout thing. It's like a flywheel. Happens throughout the trial. And so we're trying to get the schedule in line so we can have articulate what should happen by when. But if the schedule is approaching and they haven't delivered the actual discovery, then we can't be prepared for the next deadline. So accordingly, Trump respectfully requests that the court adopt the proposed schedule below to change it so that the general discovery disputes can be resolved before the classified litigation problem. And that's going to require the court to anticipate and apply defense arguments in response to the request by the special counsel's office to, quote, delete some of the evidence in this case. Delete it, right? Trump doesn't get to see it because the prosecution submitted it to the judge, and the judge says it's not relevant to the defense. How does the judge know what's relevant to the defense? The defense is saying, okay, judge, well, how about can we submit to you what we think's relevant? And then I guess you can incorporate our arguments into what you're seeing? Because the evidence is not available, practically speaking, to Trump. It has been deleted. So Trump's defense says the following as way of background. They say just 15 weeks ago, on June 8th, 15 weeks, just 15 weeks ago, special counsel Jack Smith unsealed a 44-page, 38-count indictment against Trump and Walt. In a discovery status report in June, the Jack Smith's office, they undertook to do this in quotes. Disclose promptly all witness statements and the associated memorialization of those statements, so whatever it's transcribed into or recorded into, whatever, even if they would not be deemed discoverable under the law. They would give us all the statements, even if not discoverable. They say the government has promptly produced the discovery through an organized manner, and it's gone to the defense. On June 23rd, we fast forward not much more, 2 days, special counsel's office then submitted another thing. They wanted a hearing continuance for the SEPA stuff. They say, we need more time on this. In a continuance motion, Jack Smith asserted, they said, we've moved swiftly to produce all unclassified discovery. And they say, based on that, without addressing classified materials or giglio materials, the office proposed an unprecedented compressed schedule for pretrial litigation, which included its first deadline on August 14th. We had another conference on July 18th. At that conference, Jack Smith told the court, he said, Your Honor, essentially from day one, we've had all the discovery and we've been able to produce it and have the case ready from our perspective to go to trial. We're ready. They described the initial filing, as they said, as fairly minimal. They said this, it's possible, as sometimes happen in the case, that the defense will make a discovery request, right? Once they get their tranche, then they say we need a lot more. And some of those discovery requests may hit on things, this is the prosecutor speaking, that could cause us to, as part of our response team, seek to either delete discovery, or provide the information in the form of a summary or stipulation, right? So in other words, they're going to give Trump something. They're going to say, okay, we think this is part of the case against you. Trump's going to investigate that. And as part of the investigation, Trump's going to say, I need more information about this. The government's going to say, we don't want to give you that more information. So what we're going to do is just delete the thing that we gave you in the first place. So therefore, your request for that other thing that we don't want to give to you is now invalid. they're going to just delete it or provide a summary or whatever. So the defense is like, well, that's a problem for us because we might want that other additional piece because that might exonerate our client, for example, or that might be useful in a theory of our case. So they're just now disclosing a bunch of evidence. If the evidence is bad for them because it might give the defense something useful, they delete the evidence. That's our DOJ right now. On July 21st, the defense says, the court accurately characterized the schedule that was proposed by Jack Smith as atypically accelerated. You're kidding, just like in DC. And they set a schedule for the SEPA filings and other practice. Now, less than a week after the court set that schedule, Jack Smith's office got another superseding indictment and added another defendant, right? So it was already accelerated. Jack Smith knew that they were going to bring in another co-defendant. So they were asking for an accelerated timeline, sort of dishonestly, because they knew that they were going to be bringing in another charge and additional counts. And the whole process kind of starts over for that defendant again. So as of this filing and as set forth in this additional supplement, Trump's team says, Trump and his co-defendants still do not have access to significant portions of the materials that they have characterized as classified and that they've conceded are discoverable. They say we can get it, they haven't. Much less the additional classified materials to which Trump is entitled following anticipated discovery litigation. We're going to fight over what they say we're entitled to. We're not just taking their words on this thing. So they give us some of the rules, and we'll fast forward through some of this, but to hit the highlights, they say, here is the rule. Rule 16 requires prosecutors, in this case Jack Smith, to produce items that are material to the defense. We need it. You have everything. The government has everything. They've got all the cops, they've got all the money, they've got all the lawyers, they've got all the, infrastructure. They have everything. Specifically, the rule covers evidence that refutes the government's arguments that the defendant committed the crime, right? If there's any evidence that might be useful to the defense, they've got to turn that stuff over. The Justice Manual also says things like this. If there's discoverable information, they've got to turn it over. Now, here they say, in cases involving national security issues, prosecutors must do something else. They must conduct prudential search reviews of materials that were possessed by members of the intelligence community and elsewhere to determine if those agencies possess discoverable info, right? The federal government is a big, disgusting web, tentacles all over the place. It just infests everything. And so if one agency has discoverable stuff, maybe somebody else does. And if it's going to exonerate Trump and they've got it, we got to get it. Like, you can't just hide material that's going to exonerate the defendant and move it around different agencies like they try to do with confidential informants. They say, pursuant to the manual, this search shall be undertaken to go around and investigate to make sure that the scope has been complied with. SEPA says a lot of the same thing. Prosecutors can seek a protective order with respect to discoverable information, and it provides the court with some discretion to review protective order requests ex parte, meaning on their own. And so they say, with that case law out of the way, here is what we propose. Dear Judge Cannon, President Trump respectfully submits the revised schedule. We say it's necessary to give time for Jack Smith's office to complete the discovery. It's also enough time for Trump's defense to review it, and Trump might seek additional materials, exactly, to which Trump is entitled. And when they file this, Jack Smith is going to say, sorry, you're not entitled to that supplement. And they're going to say, yes, we are, Judge, please help. So here, we see that they're postponing. Actually, this is just the most recent adjustments. And they're postponing this, it looks like, all the way up to different replies up into January of 2024. The proposed schedule is necessary to ensure fairness here. It's also important to conserve judicial resources and make sure we don't have duplicates and we have all different disputes resolved. And one of the reasons why this is necessary, Judge, is right now Jack Smith has not met its commitments. At the time the schedule was set, Trump did not object to the original approach. That's because Jack Smith said the following things. In June, he said, we'll promptly disclose all witness statements, all of them. Judge, he said it, not us. On June 23rd, Jack Smith said that they were going to produce all unclassified discovery, including Jenks material, which are documents that your experts rely on. And these are materials that might exonerate Trump. But these are also materials that the expert witnesses might be relying upon, so that when their expert is called, they know what they're going to talk about. So like it's witnesses, it's all the mechanics that you would need in a trial. Jack Smith also said, we've had all the discovery and been able to produce it and have the case ready from our perspective to go to trial. So why doesn't Trump have it? On September 12th, the defense gets access to the remaining classified discovery. That's what he said on September 12th. But they're not doing it. Trump says, had these statements from Jack been accurate, it was at least conceivable, that defense discovery requests and any motions to compel would have been circumscribed. We could have eliminated the need for them because we could have had time to hash them out. And had these statements been accurate, Trump and the other defendants would have had at least some time to review a complete production of the materials prior to SEPA stuff. But these statements from Jack Smith are not accurate. Jack Smith appears to have looked with tunnel vision at limited issues that it believed were relevant, citing some case law there, Ninth Circuit. They say Jack Smith has not produced, by way of example, Judge, he has not produced any materials related to the classification reviews that he described to the court. He told you in July, all documents have gone through a classification review. Discovery will be complete by September 12th. Guess what? We're past that date. As explained in the supplement, however, President Trump and his defense team do not have access to 16 of the 32 documents at issue here. 16 of the 32 documents. Half the materials. 50%. They haven't even seen. The classified supplement that they're also filing to the court, Your Honor, also demonstrates that potential witnesses exchanged electronic communications contemporaneously with the briefings and document handling at issue. Uh-oh. What witnesses? We got witnesses emailing each other. The special counsel's office told the court that it had produced all witness statements, but only a few of those communications have been made available. Similarly, our supplement, Your Honor, provides an example of a communication involving a member of the Jack Smith team that was included in a classified discovery and is subject to the office's obligations relating to impeachment material. But it does not appear that the office has produced any of those materials about those law enforcement witnesses and whose testimony regarding critical investigative steps will be central to the trial. All right, so are these prosecutors, should these prosecutors be removed off the case? Are they jeopardized because they are too inside the case? They are too involved in it, like they're becoming witnesses almost. They're conflicted off. We don't know, okay? That's basically what they're saying. They told us that they were going to give us these materials. We can't tell. They haven't produced the documents that we need to make those determinations. Although the Justice Manual requires Jack Smith to collect and review all of these communications by his prosecution team, the office declined to explain to Trump's counsel how it defined their team during the meet and confer session. Wow. Okay, so we can't see any of the actual mechanics here, so we're just speculating. But it sounds like what happened is somebody on Jack Smith's team was sending some problematic statements to actual witnesses in the case. And they're saying, we want to get information about that. When they want the information about that, Jack Smith is just, in theory, saying, we're just going to delete that evidence. Okay, you don't need that evidence anymore. That's what this deletion of evidence is about. And then they're also saying, well, it's not a conflict because that person wasn't a member of our team. So when Trump identifies what appears to be some misconduct here, that a prosecution person was influencing a witness, trying to, move them one way or the other in a way that that person is now conflicted off. They're just saying, no, he wasn't a part of the team. They say Trump illustrated that in this classified supplement that we can't read here, unfortunately, why these reviews mandated by the manual are so appropriate. During the meet and confer, Jack Smith's office declined to disclose whether it had undertaken these interagency reviews to discover whether there's any other evidence that might be exonerative. Thus, although Jack Smith's office committed to publicly construing its obligations broadly and producing discovery promptly, the office has not done so. That's why we're requesting relief. They say, in light of all the gaps in what they have disclosed, Trump anticipates extensive discovery requests, right? So the government is going to disclose what they have. But as we talked about, Trump is not going to say, thanks for everything. Got everything you needed. Thanks for doing all of the heavy lifting for us. No, not at all. They're going to list probably a request for like double all the things that they actually sent. They say Trump's preliminary review of the discovery thus far, everything we've got thus far, suggests that extensive discovery requests and even potentially litigation will be necessary to fill the gaps that Jack Smith has produced, okay? He has just gotten the bare minimum. He's gotten, 10 items. We need 100. They say Trump intends to seek information about the prudential search. So did they do these interagency searches? They want to know about the scope of the prosecution's team. They want to know about related case file reviews by Jack Smith's office to comply with his discovery obligations, identifying discovery material, Brady material. Based on review of witness statements that have been produced, Trump also intends to seek discovery related to selective prosecution motions, as well as other information related to the National Archives and NARA and the Presidential Records Act, right? So yeah, Jack Smith might be prosecuting under his theory, but the defense theory is going to invoke the Presidential Records Act and NARA, the head librarian of the whole country. And we'll see what they're able to pull from there. They say President Trump's expected discovery request are also going to take a prudential search review, interagencies, and go find all of those. And they say the court should resolve motions to compel soon. So as we know, Jack Smith has already promised a bunch of stuff. Jack Smith has not provided a bunch of stuff. Trump has said, we're going to want those materials at meetings. Jack Smith has basically said two things. One, we're going to delete the evidence that prompted you to ask about the thing because we don't want you to hear about it. And we also are going to say that the people you're asking questions about that might be conflicts or might have caused some prosecutorial misconduct or improprieties, we're just going to define those people as outside the scope. They're outside and you're not entitled to those. So, Judge, if that's the case, if that's their response, we need you to compel them to give us the materials that they've already promised that they were going to give us. Despite the gaps in the discovery and the need for additional time to meet and confer about these current disputes, Jack Smith still seeks to move ahead with his ex parte hearing that are due in less than 3 weeks. And so the court should resolve existing discovery disputes before addressing those motions. Here, Trump does not concede that the ex parte, the separate out-of-court filings that are brought by the government, are appropriate. He's not conceding that they were appropriate in light of his previous access to much of the material at issue, and the security clearance here is granted to his attorneys. As noted above, courts faced with ex parte SIPA hearings, motions, mitigate these risks by allowing the defense to offer their own submission. So if they're going to send you a secret love note, Judge, we're going to do the same thing. The current schedule contemplates that type of filing be done by October 10th. And so they say, Your Honor, under these current circumstances, Trump cannot reasonably be expected to meet that deadline. Requiring him to do so in service of the rush to trial by Jack Smith's office would only result in unnecessary substantive and other scheduling problems. They say, first, Trump cannot even articulate his defense theories in a manner that are going to help the court when we're talking about SEPA stuff. Like, we can't even have an intelligent conversation if we don't know what is going on. That's why motions to compel, ordering Jack Smith to give us stuff, should be resolved. And second, Jack Smith's office has already previewed that the defense discovery requests are going to require more classified documents practice. We're going to have to fight over these things, which would require the court and Trump to address the same type of motion multiple times. And third, on the current schedule, subsequent disclosures could cause Trump, meaning when Jack Smith dumps another Washington monument on Trump, Trump or the other defendants might supplement or revise their defense strategies. And that could in turn require the court to do something else, right? It's like a snowball effect, dominoes. These are all scenarios which, in the word of the special counsel, Jack Smith, quote, throw the schedule off. They can easily be avoided by adopting the proposed revised schedule. And so the proposed schedule requires motions to compel less than 6 months after Trump was charged, and SIPA stuff 6 months after the indictment was filed. This is consistent, Your Honor. So give us some time here. They say another case, this example, United States versus Archangel, Pretel Ortiz. They say that this was due until October 20th. You know, they gave some timelines. Another case, United States versus Teixeira. Another case, that was a national security case. He was arrested, and he was arrested April 2023. Prosecutors in September, okay, so April to September, prosecutors said that it was premature to set any deadlines, and the next conference wouldn't even be scheduled until December. Okay, so in other words, they're saying that was 9 months. 9 months from that start till we got going on this one. We're asking for 6 here, Judge. These examples illustrate that the approach by Jack Smith thus far has been the exception, not the rule. And we were going to play ball, okay? We were going to try to abide by this schedule. But that approach is no longer feasible given the status of the discovery and the need for fairness and efficiency in anticipated SEPA litigation. And so for the foregoing reasons, Your Honor, Judge Cannon out of Florida, we respectfully request that the court adopt the revised schedule set forth above and modify the timelines in this case. Signed by Todd Blanche and Christopher Kesey from Florida and submitted in federal court. And so very, very curious thing that's happening here. Jack Smith dragging his feet, withholding evidence, delaying. Trump's defense articulating several times when they made promises. We're going to produce all witness statements, all classified documents. We've had all the discovery. We've been able to produce it, but they're not. Because they have, I think, ulterior motives here, one of which is to not give Trump access to the materials, or not practical access. In the January 6th case, he might get a treasure trove of documents, but practically, he can't really go through them. Practically, he might have access to the discovery, but not the classified stuff, because he doesn't need it anymore because he's not the president. So he doesn't have practical access to these things. And Jack Smith, I think, in part, is trying to do this to protect himself because these cases are largely weak. And I've got some questions about this one. If Jack Smith can get a conviction in January 6 cases in D.C., he may not need this case as much anymore. And so we'll see. I'm not sure he's as interested in a trial going before the election on this one if he knows he'll get one in D.C. But that's what Jack Smith is doing. Now, Jack Smith has also brought in somebody else who is scouting the competition, taking a look at what his defendants are doing, and including going into the courtrooms and monitoring what the judges are doing and scouting out the jury selection process, just like you would if you were scouting an opposing team. Go watch how they play so you can beat them more efficiently. Jack Smith brought this guy in. War crimes prosecutor over from The Hague. Yeah, these international war crimes prosecutors, got it. His name is Alex Whitting. He worked alongside Jack Smith for years, helping to prosecute crimes against humanity that occurred in Kosovo. And the Yale-educated attorney also worked as a prosecutor with the International Criminal Court, taught law at Harvard, and is hired as an assistant professor by guess who? Elena Kagan, Supreme Court judge, right? It is a small club, my friends, and we are not in it. They all just hang out with each other. Okay, once you're in Harvard, you're in Harvard. She goes to the Supreme Court. He goes to the International Criminal Court. They're now prosecuting Trump. And then he was at Harvard. So Whitting's precise role on Smith's team is unclear. Don't know why he got brought on. A spokesperson for Smith declined to comment. And Whitting also did not return a request for comment. Neither did Harvard or The Hague. But a political reporter who was tailing this guy observed Whitting at the U.S. District Courthouse in Washington on Wednesday and Thursday, spending several hours monitoring the trial of a J6 defendant, scouting out the arena. The judge in the case is Tanya Chutkan, same judge that they're prepping for on the J6 trial. That's the judge. She's slated to preside over the trial. Now, during a break, Whitting introduced himself to prosecutors. He walked up to them. Hey, everybody, I'm a new member of Smith's team, saying I just joined the office. Smith served as the chief prosecutor at The Hague, and Merrick Garland appointed him. Whitting has been a frequent commentator on previous special counsel investigations, including Robert Mueller's. He wrote numerous articles, gave a number of interviews about this. He was once active on Twitter. He now deleted his account and has been dormant since mid-2022. Hiding those tweets, isn't he? He got added to the team. They say that they're gearing up for a new phase, and they're going to try to send a former president to prison. The hire is also another example of the team expanding. Harbach is another person on the team, and he was recently spotted observing another potential adversary. Harbach went to portions of a jury trial for Peter Navarro, a former Trump advisor. Now, Navarro, what's interesting about this, is represented by Stanley Woodward, okay? So they're not only monitoring the judge, Chutkan, they're also monitoring the lawyer. It's like watching the starting quarterback for the other team. Stanley Woodward is representing Walt Nauta, who's a co-defendant in Trump's case. So nobody knows whether he went there on his own or whether he was assigned to go there. But that's the guy right now. The person who we saw was prosecuted out of Washington, D.C., is Peter Navarro. Peter Navarro, former advisor to Donald Trump, went through a trial, has been convicted on it. And now we are hearing what his take is on this. Is Trump going to go to trial? Probably. I think Judge Chutkan is going to try to get it done. And is he going to be convicted? Here's what Navarro says.
The question is, do you think Trump can beat this case in Washington against Jack Smith?
No, I don't. And here's the second issue, the jury. I mean, you asked me about voir dire. Yep. Again, I have great respect for the jury. They took their time out. They did their civic duty. Fine. Good. But 50 people went through voir dire there. There wasn't a single Trump supporter in the whole bunch. And there were many people who expressed concern or animus towards Donald Trump, yet they still could be seated. They still could be seated if they said that animus would not affect their verdict. And we know in the district it's 92% voted for Biden and over 60% registered Democrats.
Yeah, how can you win with
it's
that?
like, look, if I had a jury and I pulled it from MSNBC versus Newsmax or Fox, you might not come up with the same outcome. So I think that's going to be a tough thing.
Understood.
Yeah, you're not going to, because they're different juries. So when we talk about a jury of our peers, it's kind of a jury of wherever the Washington, D.C. prosecutors want to bring their charges. And in this case, they brought them in D.C., which is a very favorable jurisdiction for them. Florida, not quite as much. And so we'll see what ultimately happens with this case. But the judge actually did come out and articulate that there will be some additional hearings, in particular a Garcia hearing. And the Garcia hearing is a hearing to determine if there is a conflict of interest. So if Stanley Woodward is representing Walt Nauta and there's a conflict for some reason, they'll be able to get to the bottom of that. The judge said here, there's going to be a hearing on October 12th. Carlos de Oliveira will be there. Walt will be there. Doesn't look like it's a Trump hearing, but the court will hold two separate Garcia hearings to determine if there's any conflicts. They say, special counsel, please be prepared. to discuss this stuff, signed by Judge Eileen Cannon. And of course, we'll continue to cover, my friends. So, a lot of activity in Florida. Jack Smith is dragging his feet on disclosing evidence. I think we know why. And if they don't like the evidence that Trump is asking for, well, they'll just delete the evidence so that they can also delete Trump's request for more evidence. Failing to disclose evidence, par for the course for Jack Smith. We're going to continue to cover, my friends. Thank you for visiting robertgovea.com and signing up for our daily newsletter there. Thank you for subscribing, and we'll look forward to seeing you on the next one. All right, my friends. So that's an update out of Florida. Now, we also have this little interesting story here, which is a curious one. Cassidy Hutchinson, the Clavicle Girl, is in the middle of a new saga. She's got a new book out. She's doing all sorts of media now. But you remember her when she testified in front of the January 6th Select Committee. She said a bunch of stuff on there, kind of a bunch of interesting whoppers. Some people might call them lies. When she was saying that Trump reached across and tried to grab the clavicles of a Secret Service agent before they went to insurrect the Capitol and all this stuff. Well, Cassidy testified a lot in front of that fake January 6th Select Committee. And Andrew Weissmann, somebody who we talk a lot about here, who has a lot of comments about the Trump prosecutions, he had a tweet about Cassidy Hutchinson's performance. And here is what the tweet said. From Kyle Cheney, posted on September 15th, talking about Donald Trump being prosecuted by Big Fannie Willis, the biggest Fannie in Georgia. Cheney says this, he says, Kyle Cheney from Politico says, Fannie Willis subpoenas former DOJ official Jody Hunt to appear at Jeff Clark's removal hearing, right? And this is a separate case, removal hearing for Jeffrey Clark. Weissman, who comments regularly with Jen Psaki on MSNBC, he said Hunt also is Cassidy Hutchinson's good lawyer, meaning that the other lawyer is not so good. Not the one who coached her to lie. Andrew Weissmann's statements, not mine. And he is the guy who took notes of Trump saying when Mueller was appointed, quoting him as saying, I'm effed. And so it's that little statement there, not the one who coached her to lie. Uh-oh, that's a problem, right? That other attorney is saying, what? Coached who to lie over what now? What the heck are you talking about? That guy's name is Stefan Passatino, and he has filed a lawsuit now against Andrew Weissmann. Here is what it looks like. And wait until you hear who this lawsuit got assigned to, the person who's going to be determining whether Andrew Weissmann is innocent of this defamatory speech. But if you're not real familiar with Andrew Weissmann, we've played multiple clips of this guy here. He is very excited about Trump being prosecuted. He's always on MSNBC talking about it. He's like the Democrat law whisperer. They really love this guy. He tells them a lot of what they want to hear, I think. And they brought him out in front of the Texas Tribune to ask him about these prosecutions once again, right? And he says his thing and the audience claps like seals because they love this stuff. Here is what it sounds like.
Will Donald Trump be convicted of any of the crimes he's been accused of before Election Day 2024, Andrew?
Yes.
Oh, you guys like that outcome? Huh. Wasn't sure.
But I also, just to go further, I think Judge Chutkan will sentence him to jail time.
Yeah. He goes all the way. Yeah.
Yeah. Jail. I don't think he's that far off. I think she might do it. Okay. She's kind of nuts. So we'll see if he's right or not. But that's the guy that we're talking about. All right. He's getting sued. And it's the ex-lawyer for Cassidy Hutchinson. And this is what she sounded like when she was testifying in front of Congress, in case you forgot. Clavicle Girl.
Hutchinson, when you returned to the White House in the motorcade after the president's speech, where did you go?
When I returned to the White House, I walked upstairs towards the Chief of Staff's office, and I noticed Mr. Ornato lingering outside of the office. And once we had made eye contact, he quickly waved me to go into his office, which was just across the hall from mine. When I went in, he shut the door, and I noticed Bobby Engel, who is the head of Mr. Trump's security detail, sitting in a chair, just looking somewhat discombobulated and a little lost.
Yeah.
And I looked at Tony, and he had said, "Did you effing hear what happened in the Beast?"
No, what happened?
I said, "No, Tony, I just got back." "What happened?" Tony proceeded to tell me that When the president got in the Beast, he was under the impression from Mr. Meadows that the off-the-record movement to the Capitol was still possible and likely to happen, but that Bobby had more information. So once the president had gotten into the vehicle with Bobby, he thought that they were going up to the Capitol, and when Bobby had relayed to him, we don't have the assets to do it, it's not secure, we're going back to the West Wing, the president had a very angry response to that. Tony described him as being irate. The president said something to the effect of, "I'm the effing president, take me up to the Capitol now." To which Bobby responded, "Sir, we have to go back to the West Wing." The president reached up towards the front of the vehicle to grab at the steering wheel. Mr. Engel grabbed his arm, said, "Sir, you need to take your hand off the steering wheel. We're going back to the West Wing. We're not going to the Capitol." Mr. Trump then used his free hand to lunge towards Bobby Engel. And when Mr. Ornato had recounted this story to me, he had motioned towards his clavicles.
And was Mr. Engel in the room as Mr. Ornato told you this story?
He was.
Did Mr. Engel correct or disagree?
There was no clavicle attack. Okay, Clavicle Girl made the whole thing up. Nobody corroborated the clavicle attack. Donald Trump, "Give me the wheel, Tony. I'm taking it back to the Capitol." Okay, it's just nonsense. It's total nonsense. And it was confirmed to be nonsense by other people who said, "I don't know what the heck she's talking about." And we covered all of that at length. So when Andrew Weissmann says that she's a little bit, off her keister, not sure that he's wrong on that one. But this is now the lawsuit. He's being sued about this in D.C., and the case got assigned to just the best judge ever. And so you can see this is what the lawsuit looks like. And it is brought by Cassidy Hutchinson's ex-lawyer called Stefan Passatino, 12 pages against Weissman in New York. And the attorney is very unhappy. He says, Passatino is an attorney with a 30-year history of representing clients honorably and ethically. And like all attorneys, we depend on our reputation to earn a living. And Weissman is a partisan former prosecutor and a top deputy to special counsel Robert Mueller turned MSNBC, quote, legal analysts, end quote, has publicly impugned that reputation, claiming that Mr. Passatino coached his client, Cassidy Hutchinson, to lie in congressional testimony. This is an insidious lie. Mr. Passatino never coached Miss Hutchinson to lie, nor did he attempt to shape her testimony in any way. She's just a liar on her own. Miss Hutchinson even testified under penalty of law. I added that last statement in. That under penalty of law, quote, "I want to make this clear to you. Stefan Passatino never told me to lie. He told me not to lie." And so Passatino says Weissman was aware of this, but still chose to smear Mr. Passatino in advance of his newfound career as a partisan political pundit. Woo. That's fun. So we got parties here. Passatino is an individual in Georgia. Weissman is in New York. They say throughout his 30-year career, Passatino has fostered a reputation of ethical, honorable representation. And he's represented some very high-profile clients. In fact, Passatino was a senior lawyer in the Trump administration. Then he went to private practice. He represented several witnesses before the J6 attack committee, including Cassidy Hutchinson. And just like every one of his clients, he did so honorably, ethically, and fully consistent with the rules. Prior to the allegations made by Weissman surrounding Miss Hutchinson, Mr. Passatino has never been accused by a client of anyone else of unethical or illegal behavior. He represented Hutchinson before the fake so-called select committee hearing at 3 different depositions, and the transcripts are all publicly available. Any review of those transcripts makes it obvious that Passatino was not attempting to obstruct or shape her testimony in any way. To the contrary, those 523 pages of testimony make clear that Mr. Passatino's only intervention were consistent with his admonitions to be honest, not to speculate, and to honor the specific question to the best of your recollection. Her testimony was entirely her own, unfettered, and in response to the questions of the committee, including her made-up clavicle story. As was readily apparent to the defendant, anyone else reading those transcripts, Mr. Passatino never instructed her to lie or to make up her statements. In fact, the committee repeatedly thanked Mr. Passatino for helping to keep this all on track. Now, even these were recorded in full. Wow, look at this. The select committee videotaped these depositions in full, which also would have demonstrated Passatino's ethical representation of Hutchinson. Unfortunately, the garbage, fake, illegally constituted, according to HR 503 and their own House rules, they selectively edited these videos for use in their own televised hearings. And upon information and belief, the select committee and others working on behalf of the committee caused the full videos to be destroyed before Kevin McCarthy and the Republican Party assumed control of the congressional records. Oh my gosh! I wasn't expecting that one today. So we've got Cassidy Hutchinson's lawyer is saying that her 3 depositions were selectively edited and destroyed by the J6 committee before they turned it over to the Republicans. And certainly he would know. I mean, he was the lawyer who represented her. He was there for 3 hearings. So what he has access to is now deleted. Now here we see, in a contemporaneous text message to a close friend attached here as exhibits A, B, and C, Miss Hutchinson admitted that while she did not want to cooperate with the select committee, Passatino encouraged her to do so. Here's some messages. A close friend says, "Hey, Cassidy, like, how on earth are they doing this to you?" Cassidy says, "I don't know, but I don't want to comply. Stefan, my lawyer, wants me to comply." Well, what happens if you don't comply? "I'm so ducking, literally ducking, done with this stuff. I don't have it in me." Okay, so man, this woman has been flipped is what it sounds like. "I don't want to comply." Stefan says you have to. Says, so I want to. Stefan wants to wait till after my depo. I have to go in person next Tuesday. He doesn't think the committee will leak it. They promised us they won't, but I don't trust them. Cassidy Hutchinson doesn't trust the committee. And I want it to be our narrative that's out there first. This friend says, "I got a statement locked and loaded. And if a reporter comes to you about testifying for a comment, I would call your favorite reporter and tell them immediately, go with this and have your comment." Cassidy says, "I also want to give it to Maggie and Betsy Swan." Continuing says, "Because every time they asked me a wacko question, I made them clarify meeting participants. Because they were trying to get info on meetings, but with just Trump, but executive privilege. But Stefan told me it's a White House counsel's office." There we go. "Every time they asked me a White House counsel's office question, I made them clarify meeting participants. Because they were trying to get info on meetings with just Trump, but executive privilege. But Stefan told me it's White House counsel's office plus Trump plus 1 or more participant. Those questions are fair game." Cassidy's explaining that to her friend. Friend says, "I think you're still fine. No one has called me, so that's a good sign." Somebody says to her, "I'm really upset with this." I think Cassidy is sharing a screenshot of something that she sent to somebody else. So this is Cassidy sending a screenshot back, I believe. She sends to somebody, "I'm really upset with this." Somebody responds, "It's terribly unfair. You didn't do anything other than respond to documents and texts they already had. You didn't give them new information." She says, "This is bad. I was up till 4 a.m. I couldn't sleep. Jason's people completely ghosted me the last 2 weeks too, so Now I'm back to square one there. What do I do? I'm sorry, I'm all over the place. Yeah, so this woman was panicked, right? And she's saying whatever anybody wants. So here, Passatino continues. He says, Miss Hutchinson's text messages make clear that she was planning independent leaks of information to major media outlets to make sure it was her narrative that was out there first, without the knowledge of Mr. Passatino. So don't say that Passatino was involved in her antics. He says these texts were also consistent with a prior exchange which had been reported by the Daily Caller earlier. Hutchinson expressed contempt for the Select Committee. So this is an iMessage, Tuesday, Feb 1. Hey, this is Cassidy Hutchinson. Kind of a random question, but do you still work for the schlops at the ACU? Hi, yes. Do you happen to know a First Amendment fund I could reach out to? I was subpoenaed in early November, but the committee waited to serve me until last week, after Ben's depot. I had to accept service because U.S. Marshals came to my apartment, but I haven't made contact with the committee. I'm on a tight timeline trying to figure out what my options are to deal with this BS. So sorry for the late response. My phone went wild since Trump got announced, with people wanting to come to CPAC, right? So she reaches out from ACU. You know, there's a good possibility that if she would have gotten some good counsel, like if the Republicans had the legal infrastructure built out like the Democrats have, that she could have had, real competent legal counsel. Like if the billionaires funded, some right-leaning defense organizations, she could have gone to them and they said, yeah, we got a whole team of people. This is garbage. We've got you covered. But she didn't. So she probably just buckled, went to Liz Cheney and got a lawyer and said, what's the best way out of this for me? And, now she's selling books on the back of it. So she picked her side, but I wonder if there could have been a different future. Here, now, Passatino continues. He says, on September 14th, Ms. Hutchinson testified for a fourth time before the Select Committee, giving them whatever they want. This time, she's got new counsel. She no longer was represented by Passatino. And she said, I want to make this clear to you. Stefan never told me to lie. Hutchinson continued. She said, I just want to make it clear. He didn't say, I want you to lie and say that you don't recall on these things when I know you recall. She said again, he didn't tell me to lie. He told me not to lie. That's from her literal testimony. But despite all of this, a year and a day later, on September 15th, Andrew Weissmann, a partisan who takes every opportunity to attack anyone associated with President Trump, tell me about it, tweeted to his approximately 320,000 followers on X that Passatino coached Hutchinson to lie. Says Hunt is Cassidy's good lawyer, not the one who coached her to lie, referring to Passatino, from Andrew Weissmann, saying that he knew this to be false or he said it with reckless disregard for its falsity because the transcripts show that Mr. Passatino had done nothing to obstruct or shape Miss Hutchinson's testimony that said that Stefan never told me to lie. He told me to do the opposite. But Weissmann chose to smear Mr. Passatino because of a partisan animus and because Passatino's prior affiliation with Trump. Additionally, Weissmann attacked Mr. Passatino as a means of distracting from and rehabilitating the contradictory and uncredible aspects, like the Clavicle attack, that came from Hutchinson's testimony, as they undermine the committee's purpose, partisan findings, and partisan purpose. Love that. It's true. Hey, don't blame the lawyer because your witness is garbage. The smear has deeply damaged Mr. Passatino's 30-year reputation and caused him to lose significant business and income. And he seeks to hold Weissmann accountable for this vicious lie and damages that he has wrought. And so here they say all of this was incorporated, that he was not coached to lie. His statements are concerning because it's read to be about Mr. Passatino. He denies those statements as categorically false. It was viewed by 116,000 people, including people in D.C., and that all of this was known in the transcripts, that Passatino did not tell her to lie, told her to tell the truth, and that this should not have been a statement that was made. It injures Passatino, damages his reputation. It's defamatory per se because it accuses him of suborning perjury, and he could be indicted for that. Wow. So he's saying, yeah, I could just be indicted right away because he's saying I'm interfering with the legal process. And it's a gross violation of attorneys' ethical and professional obligations, and it deeply injures him. And so it caused him significant damage, including loss of business, income, damaging his reputation, humiliation, and mental anguish. And these damages were foreseeable. And so they want compensatory and punitive damages in the amount of $75,000. Andrew Weissmann, they're saying, owes him that amount. And here for count 2, injurious falsehood, saying he spread the falsehood, also in the amount, damages $75,000, asking for compensatory, punitive damages for those amounts, all submitted by Jesse Bernal from the Bernal Law Group against Andrew Weissmann. Cassidy Hutchinson, man, that's what her testimony led to. Lawsuits in the amount of $75,000. Former Trump associated lawyer now suing Andrew Weissmann for those monetary damages. And the case landed in federal court. And guess who got assigned the case? Judge Chutkan. That's right. You're familiar with her from the other January 6th prosecutions. And so now we have to ask ourselves, what is the likelihood that Stefan Passatino has a successful shot at this defamation lawsuit? When Judge Chutkan is presiding, Andrew Weissmann is defending. It's a defamation case about Donald Trump and Cassidy Hutchinson. We'll see where it goes, my friends. But Cassidy Hutchinson is out there. The saga continues. Clavicle Girl and her testimony causing lawyers to sue other lawyers over commentary about the case. The saga carries on. We'll continue to cover, my friends. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for sharing this video with a friend, and we'll look forward to seeing you on the next one. All right. And we've got one final segment on the day to attend to. Let's see what we've got here. The insurrection continues, but it looks a little different this time, and now it is in the form of an impeachment. That's right. If you criticize Joe Biden or even consider impeaching him, even if it's just an inquiry, you're continuing the insurrection, according to Eric Swalwell, one of the stinkiest people in Congress, probably after Jerry Nadwell. The same guy who made Bang Bang with Fang Fang a CCP spy from China says the insurrection is onward thanks to these Republicans.
I wanted to ask you about Donald Trump's role here. He obviously has no official role in the House operations, but he's clearly pulling strings behind the scenes. He posted on Truth Social in part, quote, "This is also the last chance to defund these political prosecutions against me and other patriots." That's not how it works. But what do you make of his demand and his role in this chaos?
Yeah, Donald Trump and McCarthy and the other pro-insurrection Republicans have never accepted Joe Biden as the president. They tried to run and incite and inflame an insurrection that failed. They voted to acquit the insurrection when we brought forth impeachment proceedings in the House and the Senate. Many of McCarthy's folks go to the January 6 prisoners and visit them to give them comfort and aid. And so they've never accepted President Biden as a legitimate president. And this week, even as we are hurtling toward a shutdown, they'll hold impeachment proceedings, which is just a continuation of the insurrection. And so this is all about just putting Donald Trump.
How many times he said insurrection here? Okay, if you're drinking to the word insurrection, you're probably feeling pretty good right now. We're only a minute in. But an impeachment proceeding is a continuation of the insurrection. It's like everything is insurrection now with these people.
in charge. The House, unfortunately, has become a law firm with just one client, Donald Trump. And again, it's at the expense of American people who have needs on bringing their health care costs down, keeping their kids safe in school. In just a couple of days, student loan repayments are going to start back up. And so people are going to feel the pain there. They need action on these issues. Instead, all they get from the House Republicans is action for one client, and that is the twice impeached 91 count indicted former president.
Okay, so more insurrections. Anytime that you do something that Democrats don't like, you're in the middle of an insurrection. You are an insurrectionist, as it were. And so we do know that there is going to be another insurrection taking place in Congress this week. Should be fun. Here, September 28th, 2023. Join us for the continuing insurrection. It is at 10 a.m. Now, we're probably not going to do it live, but we'll, of course, hit the highlights after the fact. The impeachment inquiry will be taking place, and we've got some witnesses who are actually already on the docket, and this just dropped. And so let's see. This is what the hearing schedule looks like. And here we have some announcements. Yes, the basis for an impeachment inquiry of President Joseph Biden taking place September 28th, 10 a.m. Rayburn House Office Oversight Committee is hosting this. It will be live streamed. And we have 3 different witnesses who will be there. One is Bruce Dupinsky, founder of Dupinsky Consulting. Don't know what that's about. Eileen O'Connor, former Assistant Attorney General, U.S. Department of Justice, DOJ tax, former tax person. And then Jonathan Turley as well, who's a great columnist, writes for a number of different articles, publications. He's going to be there. And so it sounds like what this is going to be is kind of an analysis type of a hearing. If this were the case, would this lead to probable cause for this? Or have there been other examples where evidence that looks and resembles what we've got is used in an impeachment? And Turley, and they'll say, yeah, it's good evidence, because it is. This is direct evidence of this. This is circumstantial evidence of that. And so it is coming up. Now, Comer is giving us a little bit of a preview on what that's going to sound like. And he is, of course, on the Oversight Committee. Here is some of his conversation about what we can expect.
She mean?
I have no idea what she means. There are 1 or 2 disgruntled Republicans that are trying to claim there's no evidence. But at the end of the day, the majority of Americans, of course, poll after poll shows, realize there's mountains of evidence. Let's start with the fact that we've discovered the Biden family has taken in over $20 million from foreign nationals that came through a series of shell companies that were then laundered down to the Bidens in incremental payments. My question to the White House is, what did the Bidens do to receive that $20 million? They can't answer it. They try to act like it didn't happen, like it didn't exist, but it did. $20 million. We heard from the IRS whistleblowers that they didn't pay a penny of taxes on this money, that this investigation was leading to Joe Biden. We found, even though Joe Biden said he never met with or spoke to or had any knowledge of any of these people who were mysteriously wiring millions of dollars to the Bidens, we have found through our deposition process that he spoke to every one of them on the phone over a dozen times. So there's mountains of evidence. We can talk about the text messages, the emails. We can talk about the bank receipts. And that's what we're going to talk about next week in our first impeachment inquiry hearing.
You know, a few weeks ago, the last time you and I spoke, you said those bank records were the things that were really going to show those shell companies. And now you have that information. And I do want to ask this with the special counsel. And with what's going on with Hunter Biden, you know, planning to sue the IRS and really fighting back against some pretty bad charges against him now, tax fraud. I'm wondering, does any of that block your opportunity to subpoena, to get more information?
Well, we're going to find out. I certainly hope not. Call me skeptical, Harris, but I believe that thus far, Weiss hasn't demonstrated an ability to be fair in this. We know that he was charged with lying on a gun application. If I listed the 12 crimes that Hunter Biden committed, that would be a distant 12th in order of most serious to least serious. And ironically, that's the one crime that you can't tie Joe Biden into. So We don't know if this is the first step for David Weiss or if this is just an effort to say we're doing something. Therefore, when we go to court to get the Biden's personal bank records, is the special counsel going to stand up and say, Your Honor, we have an ongoing investigation.
Yes.
Please don't allow them to have any more damaging evidence against my client.
Yeah, that is the phrase of the day for them. I do want to get to this. We were talking about people who might not be on board. Representative Ken Buck, I'm going to ask my team to show us that. This is an op-ed in the Washington Post from him. My fellow Republicans, one disgraceful impeachment does not deserve another. And Ohio Senator J.D. Vance has this warning to all of his Republican colleagues.
I think it could backfire on Republicans if we go further than the evidence. There are very credible pieces of evidence. We don't know if they're true, but there are credible pieces of evidence that suggest the President of the United States used his prior office to enrich himself and his family. Now, if that's true, then certainly he should be impeached. And whether it hurts us or not is not the right question. I think we have to follow the evidence. And if we get too far ahead of the evidence, then yeah, I think the American people will penalize us.
Your reaction?
I agree completely with J.D. Vance. Look, this is an impeachment inquiry. It's unfortunate that we've had to go here, Harris, but this family, the Biden family, this administration, the Biden administration, and his legal team have blocked and obstructed us at every turn. Yet we continue to uncover more findings, more evidence of wrongdoing by the Biden family. So this is the next step in impeachment inquiry. We're not talking about having an impeachment vote. This isn't an impeachment trial. This is an impeachment inquiry where we have every tool at our disposal to be able to get a speedy trial if and when we head to court over these personal bank records and these pseudonym emails. And it allows us to have a better standing when the when the cabinet agencies refuse to turn over information. So we're not having an impeachment hearing, we're having an impeachment inquiry because we've gotten to the point to where there's so much evidence of wrongdoing by the Biden family, and Joe Biden has lied so many times to the American people about his knowledge of his family's wrongdoing.
Real quickly, just a yes or no, would you be willing to, or are you planning to subpoena people as part of the inquiry, or are you waiting to get all of those mountains of evidence? Can you subpoena before that? We're
following the bank records. We're following the money. So the next subpoena will be for Hunter Biden and Jim Biden's personal bank records. If that evidence leads to individuals needing to be subpoenaed, whether it be Hunter Biden or Joe Biden, we will do that.
All right. James Comer giving us a little bit of preview. We've got subpoenas going out for the bank records for the president and the president's son. And we'll see what's in there. We do know that Hunter would spend pretty lavishly on business expenses, and some of those business expenses were sex clubs in, I think, LA. So very curious what we'll find, and I'm sure that the money is going to reveal a lot more of the nefariousness. Don't know if we're going to find gold bars like Menendez had, but certainly we'll see a lot more there. It's going to be curious. Now, a big question is about the love between a father and son and whether that love is sufficient to exonerate all of their criminality. Representative James Clyburn says absolutely. As long as there's love, don't really have to worry about anything else.
Yet President Biden, according to one witness testimony, was on the phone 20 times with Hunter Biden's business associates. It was described as pleasantries, but is that appropriate?
Well, his associates said they were pleasantries, but I think it's appropriate to be a father to your son.
Oh, yes.
And if your son is having a problem, and we all know the history of the problem that Hunter has with addiction, and he is being a father to his son.
He loves him, man.
You don't impeach a man for being a father to his children.
Yeah, you insurrectionist Republicans out there continuing the insurrection. You don't impeach a man for just loving his son. Can the Republicans use that, by the way? Can we just say Trump loves Don Jr. and Don Jr. loves Trump and Trump, Eric loves Trump? Don Jr. loves Trump, and therefore Trump can't be prosecuted, all right, just because. They love each other. And being a father to your son, just forget it, because it doesn't matter what the conduct was, because the phone calls don't matter. He just skipped right over the phone calls, so the conduct doesn't even have to be related. Anyways, that's Clyburn. Now, here is Byron Donalds, who's going to give us some more details on this two-track impeachment path that we've got. And we've talked about multiple different avenues of criminality that I think are worthy of impeachment inquiry, one of which is the crime that he committed with his Bag family, with Hunter Biden and James Biden and others. But the other is the obstruction of everything that he's been in charge of. Obstruction of the inquiries from his DOJ, from the FBI. And so both of those things could be investigated. Here's what Byron Donald says.
Basic investigative practices were flatly ignored when it came to Hunter Biden. Conversely, they're inventing ways to prosecute President Trump. I firmly believe that there is obstruction at the Department of Justice because there is no possible way the first Hunter Biden indictment gets to a federal judge without Merrick Garland knowing about it and reading it, without Lisa Monaco, the Deputy Attorney General, knowing about it and reading about it, and frankly, with the two U.S. attorneys, one in California, one here in D.C., knowing what's going on and ignoring prosecution. That only occurs if the Department of Justice is covering up, they're blocking and tackling, and they are obstructing justice. Early on, when we broke news with the whistleblowers coming forward, I told Republicans, I believe we have two tracks of impeachment. One is on Joe Biden. We all know the story. But the second's on Merrick Garland, because Merrick Garland is the guy behind the scenes that is covering and tackling for Joe Biden and his corrupt family. That is a violation of the law, and he should go as well.
All right. So you just heard from another insurrectionist, Byron Donalds here, who says that impeachment is, perfectly justified. And he's apparently attacking Stinky Eric Swalwell, bang, bang with Fang Fang guy. And so, my friends, we'll see. There's going to be a lot more insurrections in this country. I thought that they were kind of, I guess I was mistaken. I guess everything is going to be an insurrection. Everything's racist. Everything's bigoted. Everything's insurrectionary. Everything's going to, be anti-science now if you don't follow what they say. So it continues. More insurrections. And of course, we'll continue to cover, my friends. Thank you for subscribing and sharing this with whomever in your life you think should come and join us. Thank you for checking out robertgovea.com, signing up for our daily newsletter, reading the video reports over there, and we'll look forward to seeing you on the next one. All right, my friends. Well, that is it for us on the day. We covered some good ground. The stinkiest Eric Swalwell, I think probably stinky number 2 after Jerry Nadler. And Nadler, you know what I thought about, actually? I was wondering, is Jerry Nadler, is that really, what's in that diaper? We thought it was excrement from his 35 years in Congress, but I'm wondering if there's gold bars in there now. Does he have gold bars? Somebody should check. Weissman sued by Cassidy Hutchinson's former lawyer, Stefan Passatino, and he wants some donos coming towards him for some defamatory alleged tweets. And Jack Smith is now hiding evidence from Donald Trump's defense team. They're saying we need more time to review it. We also need motions to compel so that we can actually take a look at what exists against us. And of course, my friends, now it's time to hear from you and to see what you have to say about this. Let's say hello to our friends on Locals, on YouTube, on Rumble. Thanks for sending in those donos and supporting the work that we do here, my friends. Very much appreciate it. Who do we have in the house? John McGarvey got us started. Before the show started on Locals, I was talking about a transition that is happening on the Locals platform. We're getting new video technology. And so sometimes I say the word transition, people get concerned I might come here as Roberta or something. Could be a different world. Voice says, this was from this morning. Voice says, no, they won't. Sarah Fields already called. It's a lie. She did her job. And I don't know what that was in reference to, but that was from something this morning. So thanks for sending that in, Voice, this morning on our members stream. John McGarvey in the house, bringing in 5 new membos. Thank you, John. We got Matt O, Eric V, James B, Bill L, and Kevin H, all coming in courtesy of John McGarvey. And of course, if you're a YouTube member, navigate over to the community tab section, grab the Telegram link. That's where our after party will continue. And welcome aboard. And thank you, John, for bringing in 5 membos. Hey, another 5, courtesy of Rick Gregory, bringing in SCVM, bringing in Spitfire, Muffin Rando, Garrett P, and Adina J, all gifted membos, courtesy of Rick Gregory in the house. Thank you, Rick, for bringing in 5 new people. And Dolphin, we got some serious membos coming in the house. Oh my goodness. Dolphin Fan, thank you guys. Dolphin Fan is the man, bringing in 5 more. Brandon R, Woo, Lad is coming in. We got Valentine Toy Box. We got Frank B. And Flo Garden is all in the house, courtesy of Dolphin Fan is the man, bringing in 5 new membos. We got Quantum Thug Life bringing in 5. Quantum Thug Life is thugging it out in multiple dimensions. Welcome aboard. Renee G. Patriot Chick is here. Michael A. Coco Hull, and Just My Opinion, all coming in thanks to Quantum Thug Life, who is thugging it out in, what are they called? Tetrahedron or something? All right, we've got Dan says, oh, Dan, bringing in 5 more membos. That's a lot of membos, man. Our members only stream tomorrow is going to be absolutely lit. Dan is bringing in Flyvelli, Flo, LER, bringing in Hold My Halo, Cruz, Red Eye, and Magoose coming in. Thanks to Dan as a membo in the house. Thank you, Dan. Thank you to everybody bringing in some new members. It's going to be a lot of fun. And we got S. McG. Says, I'm expecting Menendez won't be convicted and the Democrats will use him as an example of why we can't indict Biden for the same thing. I think this is a very great comment, S. McG. And I think there's some truth to this. In fact, we were talking about this morning on our member stream. Menendez knows where the bodies are buried, okay? He already got indicted once. And he had enough leverage that he escaped those charges, however he did it. And then he also got reappointed back to the same committee, right? He's got some serious leverage. And I think that they'll have a tough time getting rid of him. But I do think you're right. It does anchor in some breathing room for Joe Biden. They say that's real corruption. Like, you need gold bars. We were joking about this here. That the only way that they would be satisfied is if Joe Biden had like those big checks, right? Like those big Price is Right checks, big obnoxious checks, because obviously that, they need something concrete. I was just like, the fact that a senator got hit with gold bars, it's an even almost more obnoxious example than my big checks example. So, but it's the same thing, right? It's a monetary exchange of value. Now the left will say, oh, gold bars, like, because they need to see something physical, but the rest of us know that the bank records show the other transactions. But they'll still say, right, one is the real thing, one is a witch hunt. And they'll also say that, and we've already seen this, that Clarence Thomas needs to go, right? Clarence Thomas has also been bribed, according to them. And so if they're getting rid of Menendez, Republicans should get rid of the other one. This one came in from Andres Berzins. Says, who is the better date? Alina Abba or Cassidy Hutchinson? Who is the better date? That's a gimme, right? That's an obvious gimme on that one. We all know the answer to that one. And it's Alina Abba! But Cassidy Hutchinson would also be a fun date. It would be a curious one. But you probably get Me Too'd on that one, so you want to stay away from that. Zach is clipping for us on Locals. What's up? John McGarvey's over on Locals. Says, Jack the Ripper is only concerned with getting a conviction before the election. Oh, Jack, the special counsel. Okay, yeah. Says, if it looks like a case isn't going to produce the result, he'll backburner it and focus on the DC case or bring another one. I think that's an astute observation, John. That was kind of the point that I was trying to articulate, probably inartfully. But what happens if Florida looks bad? And let's say he gets a conviction on the January 6th stuff. Does he say, mission accomplished, job is done, for the good of the nation, we're going to dismiss the other one? He's not going to want to lose, right? A loss would be better, it would be worse than a dismissal, I think. And they just need one felony conviction, that's it, and they'll be happy. Thanks, John. We got NY says, Trump lawyers need to subpoena Weissman and use the information to recuse Chutkan. How does Weissman know Trump will be sentenced to jail? He's probably just giving a hot take on it. Did he have a conversation with Chutkan? I don't know. Is there any picture floating around that shows Chutkan with Weissman, then Chutkan should be off the case. From the good doctor, over on locals. Thanks, Doc. I don't know. I haven't seen them together. They'll be in the same courtroom together at some point. Voice says, this is all too unlikely to be coincidental. Chutkan is the toughest on J6 people, and she's being handed everything J6 related. This needs to end. Isn't it pretty convenient that she's also getting Weissman's case? It's like, wow, incredible. So Weissman literally could not have picked a better judge. Like, shout out to the roll of the dice on that one. Jenny B has been a member for 17 months. Oh my goodness, 17 months. That is almost 2 full babies. And we're glad to have you, Jenny B. Says, I love being a part of Rob's tribe. MAGA, Make America Great Again. It's the Watcher fam, baby. Thanks, Jenny B, for being a member here for so long. We love it, and I'm grateful for you being here. Eric Sean says, wow, Dems sure have an impressive messaging game. What are you talking about, Swalwell? Insurrection, 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 insurrection. And, of course, they do, actually. They do have a good messaging game. They're quite good at it. Flash River is over in the house. He says, hey, Robert Barnes and everyone, I'd like to bring to your attention that a mini documentary has been created, shedding light on the lives of the J6 Patriots. This documentary has been crafted by the fine journalists, including Laura Logan. I highly recommend taking the time to watch the stories of those currently held in federal prison and those who have been convicted. You can view it here. The web address is twitter.com/truth_in-media. So I've not seen it, but it sounds great. And I think that these people have been forgotten about in our country, and it is a horrendous thing. You know, you can kind of judge a society by like how they treat who they claim to be the worst. Like who do the people in charge treat the worst? And it's got to be the J6ers, like the people who hold the power, right? They're treated very poorly. So sounds like it's a great cause. Twitter.com/truth_in-media. Thank you, Flash River, for flagging that for all of us. Sounds good. Ray K is here, says something very strange going on with Cassidy. Threatened, promised something. They finally got what they wanted on her 4th round of questions. No wonder they destroyed the tapes. Yeah, it's a good point. They just kept going, right? Depot after depot, and maybe she got, I don't know. It's a good question. But she did seem very skeptical until she wasn't. So it feels like her story did flip. Brian Reinhardt says, how about grounds under Article 4, Section 4? Well, I don't know, Brian. You'd have to give us some more details on that one. I don't have the sections memorized like maybe you do. But anyways, thank you for being a member for 8 months. That sounds awesome. Almost one away to a baby. We got Pinochet says, how does one get Ken Buck's deals investigated? Well, that's a good question. You'd have to probably be a U.S. attorney or a prosecutor or an attorney general and be interested in it. Presuming he did something wrong. You don't want to go target people with illegal prosecutions, or investigations without cause. But certainly if somebody had something to latch onto, that's how they would do it. Good to see you, Pinochet. We got the good NY says, Rep Swalwell is putting forth some novel legal theories. He seems to think that challenging an election and oversight of the executive branch are somehow illegal. I think it's time for a bar complaint. He had an affair with a Chinese spy who in addition was a subordinate in his office. His actions are in violation of the House Code of Conduct. And his actions, I don't know if the bar would look too kindly on, there's a lot going on there. You're right, Doc. Here, Voice of the People says, the early one from this morning is about Harry Sisson and the Boomy claim. Oh, Harry Sisson is the guy who is a Democrat influencer who makes those very obnoxious legal videos. Horatio Spinelli from Jonathan Conklin, a member from 2 months, says, Roberta, the brave lesbian lawyer. Yeah, I could probably get appointed to like the DOJ in the Biden administration, huh? Probably put me like next to Lisa Monaco. Roberta, hey, I'm a lesbian now. Can I work in your administration? Sure. Social Viking says, can't these sleazy people on the J6 Select Committee be prosecuted for deleting evidence? Well, I think they would be immune from that. They would be, it's legislative business, so you can't really prosecute them for comporting themselves. Like, they can kind of do whatever they want in the House, which is why they were allowed to create the select committee, even though it was in violation of their own rules. Like, they passed rules, HR 503, that said that the committee would have a certain makeup and certain things, and they didn't follow that. And the courts just said, it's Congress. They can do whatever they want. It's their house. So I don't think that they could actually be prosecuted for it, unfortunately. Curtis Bartle in the house. Thank you, Curtis, for sending in the flying super pair, my friend. I appreciate it. Thanks for being a member. Always appreciate your support. Posh Hawk is over on Local, says, if Trump would just change parties, this would all just go away. There might be some truth to that, actually. I'm a Democrat now. Like, oh man, you see a lot of heads explode because they wouldn't get it. Hey, Horatio Spinelli says, all jokes. Really, thank you for teaching me so much. Well, thank you, Horatio. Yeah, it is a joke. We're not actually transitioning to Roberta, the lesbian lawyer, here on the channel. Although YouTube would probably give us more subscribers if we did that. Anyways, not going to do that, though. Thank you, Horatio, for clarifying that it's a joke. Thanks for being here, my friend. Thanks for the donos. I do appreciate that one. And of course, let's see, my friends, what's happening over with our friends on x.com, and see who is joining us on the live stream over there. Oh my gosh, my friends, it's a Monday miracle. We have double digits on Twitter. X. 12 viewers. I don't even know how to act. I'm going to try to keep it together as we get through the rest of this. Okay, I'm a little nervous. Danny says, I said it before. Due process is on trial. And look at this one. We got Danny McWilliams. Says, I said it before. Due process is on trial, not Trump. The whole justice system is kind of on the ropes right now. Fred Pedemonte got a new book, baby. The report on the Biden laptop from Marco Polo USA.org. Good stuff. The report on the Biden laptop. I've got mine right here. I've got another one right there. And it is a good way to support our friends Garrett Ziegler and our Marco Polo friends, Marco Polo USA.org, to get your copy. Hey, what's up? LR Custom says, it's a great day to burn some powder and get ready for outdoor shopping. O'Nelly says, 2 more likes and we reach 50. Rob is going to be pleased. O'Nelly says, I swear we had 24 viewers a few minutes ago. 24. It's crazy. Elon might be in there. Is Elon out there today? Elon, are you in the audience? Here, George says, missed you yesterday, Rob. Thought maybe the feds got you. Absolutely my favorite show, even more than Tucker, which is a resounding number 2. Well, yesterday was Sunday, right? Am I days off? Today's Monday, right? We don't normally stream on Sundays. I like to take a little time off, but yeah, I missed you too, George. I do miss you guys when we don't stream on the Sunday. I'm like, it's kind of feels like I'm missing something. O'Nelly says, hit the like button. Newton says, watching now, love the show. O'Nelly says, great show again. And says, cool t-shirt, but gray is not your color. I try to change it up. I try to change it up here. Deanna is over there. O'Nelly with a couple more comments. Brian Reinhardt says, the USA is under invasion over there. And Carter Group has a fun comment over there. So we'll leave that one alone. And so, my friends, that is it for us on the X. We're down to 11 viewers. Elon probably left. That's fine. See you, Elon. See you tomorrow. All right, so that's from us over on X. If you want to join us on X, you can certainly do that. We have a members, we have actually a Twitter community now, not a members community, but just a Twitter community. So watching the watchers, if you want to sign up, you can click this groups, this communities button on your Twitter app and join us, watching the watchers. And we're going to try to start posting more stuff here when the technology works. We can actually upload stuff. But my friends, that is it for us on the day. We had one final comment coming in from our friend, Not Brandon. Says, I never knew Broccoli Roberta loved the ladies that much. Yeah, so if I transitioned, I'd still be a lesbian, is what you're saying. Yeah, that's curious, right? It's like, wait a minute. Yeah, that's how not that it's going to happen, though. Several people are asking now. Wow, you're transitioning? Congratulations, Rob. It's confirmed? Yeah, it's confirmed for you? Well, all right, we'll see you tomorrow. See how it goes. All right, and so my friends, that is it for us on the day. We are going over to watchingthewatchers.locals.com for our members only after party stream. We'd love to see you over there. We also do streams in the morning before the show. We can't get to everything here. We hit it in the members only stream in the morning. We'd love to see you over there. Don't forget to grab your Field of Greens, courtesy of our friends at fieldofgreens.com, where you can save 15% off your real organic superfood using code Robert at checkout. And let's not forget the vegetables, they want to be eaten. Okay, that's why they're here. Shout out to our mods and our meme smiths who help keep this show on the track. Big thanks to John McGarvey, Donut Mind Me, Dog Digger in the house, Jan Eck. We've got John Allen, our friend Zach Nichols, Beyond Geo, Zulu, Ronnie Cole, Playin' Hooky, Just Cause, K Bean, and of course, Vianticus Prime, all in the house, modding down the fort for us. Also want to shout out our meme smiths, Geegum Geegum, Sleepy Dog Lee, and Nathan N810. Thanks for all the support on the show. But that, my friends, is it for us on the day. It's a lovely Monday, and it's going to be a full week. And so I'm grateful that you joined us today. Thank you once again for subscribing and joining us back here tomorrow, because we are going to be back here at the same time to do it all again. And we need to see you right back here. So together, with your help, we can shine that big, beautiful spotlight of accountability and transparency down upon our system with the hope of finding justice. Make it a beautiful night, my friends. Sleep very well. I'll see you right back here tomorrow. Bye-bye.